Now, when you stream as many hours as a lot of streamers do, you tend to get asked the same questions repeatedly, a lot. Now, some of these questions, I swear to goodness, I probably get asked every 10 or 15 minutes while I'm streaming. And this isn't a shot at any one person or anybody who asks these questions. They're for the most part completely valid questions. Well, at least like most of the time. Now, these are in no particular order, but first on this list, I'm going with the question, what is your favorite build? I get asked this quite often, almost every single day. So really, the most common answer I give them is one of my favorite builds is one that was actually changed in some of the more recent patches to make it as good as it used to be back in the day. And that is actually the Nova Sorceress. It's incredibly powerful. It can be incredibly tanky with energy shield, and it can put out a ton of damage when you have the great endgame gear, and even kind of at the early parts of ladder when you're out farming keys. Maybe you're going out to the summoner, taking out ghost packs as well. There's really a ton of great things that this build can do. A couple of other my favorite builds. There is actually the Summon Corpse Explosion Necromancer. The absolute massive radius on Corpse Explosion, just melting entire rooms, is absolutely amazing to me. And another one that I love, I mean, I gotta have a Barbarian build in here, am I right, fellas? That Find Item skill, since I'm primarily a Holy Grailer or a Magic Finder, you gotta love that Find Item. And more specifically, my favorite type of Barbarian build is the Singer Barb. Now, I don't know if you noticed, a common theme across these builds is they don't really take any aim at all. It's one of my favorite things, the ease of play. Now, with the Nova Sorceress, obviously you have the radius that you hit. With the Singer Barb, you have a much smaller radius, but you have that radius nonetheless. And then you also have the Find Item skill, making it an amazing Magic Finder. And the Corpse Explosion Necromancer, like I said, once one monster goes down, you just spin the mouse around in circles, and it boom, 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 pops in bodies, melting the entire room. So I really love these kind of lazy builds where it's kind of like you're playing horseshoes or throwing hand grenades. You ain't got to be perfect as long as it's close. Next up, what is my favorite bands? Now, the reason I get asked this question all the time is because the style of background music that I put on my streams. Now, it's usually different types of rock and metal or whatever genre. I'm not perfect at naming which genre each sound or style of music is, but it's different types of rock and metal. So I get asked all the time, what is my favorite bands? So much so that my regulars even know exactly how I answer this question pretty much every time. For like more modern stuff, even though they're not particularly new, I mean, I am an old man after all, Falling in Reverse and Motionless in White are two of my kind of like newer favorite bands. They're not that new, I understand, but, and when you talk about older stuff, I mean, back when I was younger, I was kind of like an emo kid, kind of, sorta, as you can see from this picture right here. Look at that sick shirt. So Atreyu the Curse, absolute goated album, absolutely amazing. But who wasn't into Avenged Sevenfold back then or even now? But there was a ton of different bands. Actually, Silverstein, huge crazy emo band, still touring now. But there was really a wide variety. I've seen Hatebreed probably 6 times. I got a bunch of System of a Down albums. I mean, Linkin Park was cool. Loved The Used. And there's even other stuff. I got several Hot Hot Heat albums. If you ever heard those, check them out. I got a couple Ludacris albums. Got a ton of Eminem albums, so it's a little bit of a wide variety, but mainly it was different forms of rock and different kinds of metal. But I will mention N&M Creations makes the background music for all that I listen to on my streams, and I put in a lot of my videos. Link at the very bottom of the description to that guy's channel if you ever want to listen to these backing tracks yourself. Now, I get asked quite often, am I going to try this mod? Am I going to try that mod? Like literally every single day someone asks that question, and really generally the answer is going to be,
it's definitely a no for me, dog.
I'm not a big fan of Diablo 2 mods, and a lot of people don't know this, but I completely switched my channel over to Project Diablo 2 when that game launched. And when it first launched, I did kind of like it. Now, not everything was changed, but some things were balanced. They added a new skill in here, maybe changed a few of the items there, and it was kind of cool. And then the next season came and they bricked every single item and every character in the entire game. And then they changed every single item. They changed every single skill and everything in the game. So I played through that season again. And the next season, what did they do? They changed every single item and every single skill again. It seemed like every single season, everything was getting changed. And that's what I noticed with these mods. So generally the answer is always going to be no, I'm not going to play these random mods that make Diablo 2 a completely different game. Now, a super quick one, super easy to answer, and I get asked all the time, completely understandable. Phil, what's left on your Holy Grail? And I'm kind of stuck at the very last item. Yeah, just one. I need to find the Tyrell's Might. Now, depending on when you watch this video, if it's brand new to you, just a few days ago, I actually found the Wisp projector, which I don't know how exactly, but I hadn't found one up until this point after playing for so many months. It's been over a year that I've been doing this Holy Grail. Now, one that does kind of crack me up, and we kind of got a channel joke about it, but all the time I got asked either some combination, some variation of, are you playing hardcore, or why are you not playing hardcore? Now, the thing is I just do not like hardcore play. Now, I don't know about you, but I play video games to kind of relax, to enjoy myself. And, I now in my older age, I don't play video games to be all sweaty. I don't need to add more stress into my life. I already have kids. I already have bills to worry about. I already have my own life problems that you guys don't need to worry about. But all of us men who are in our 30s or 40s or whatever you are have tons of life stress already. I don't need to add even more of it with playing hardcore. Now, every once in a while, I will play hardcore just because I know that viewers kind of like the drama of it. Is Phil going to die at any second here? But in general, honestly, I don't really like hardcore that much. Now, I get asked all the time, and I can't necessarily answer this for you right now, but how much Magic Find and what is the players count that I'm currently playing at? Now, I used to actually put over kind of in the side lower corner exactly how much Magic Find and players count I had, but I kept forgetting to change it, and I played different builds like every other day, every few days. So I just constantly have to be perpetually changing these numbers. And not to mention, at some point, I started looking at my stream and I got my SweetPhil logo over on this side. I got the chat over on that side. I got the players count MF down over here. I've got these notifications over there. I've got these up at the top. I got the new channel members, the new donators. And I'm thinking, man, 50% of the screen is covered by all these different words, completely covering the game that people are trying to watch me play. So I just decided at some point just to take off all the clutter. And when people do ask how much Magic Find or what players count I have, I just go ahead and answer it super quick. Now, here's one that I don't necessarily know how to answer in a polite way when I'm streaming, but I get asked probably every 5 to 15 minutes while I'm streaming. I get asked, hey, Phil, can you show me your full build, your gear, and your entire skill tree? And I got to come up with nice ways of answering and saying,
Nope.
I'm not pausing my stream every 3 minutes to show another person who just jumped on my entire build. So what I kind of started doing, I think it's the most polite way and maybe the most obvious way to handle it. I either go one time at the beginning of stream over my entire build, and I tell the people on YouTube here to go ahead and scroll back on the stream, check the 3 minute and 47 second mark when I start going over the full build. Or I tell people, hey, I put a link at the top of the description to a full build guide, because at this point, I kind of have a build guide for almost every single build that I play. And if I don't, I generally will make one to be a video here on my channel. So not one that I necessarily get asked every single day, but it's a very valid question related to Diablo 2. And that is, people will quite often ask me, if you get the runes, which one should you make first, your Infinity or your Enigma? And in my preference, in my opinion, in my recommendation, I would go with Enigma. Once you have that piece, you can then go ahead and teleport on all these different builds. You can make a Singer Barb. You can make a Hammered In, which is way better. Once you have the Enigma, you can get your Necromancers fired up in tons of different builds. That way you can have more variety with your gameplay, even though Infinity will make the Sorceresses even more powerful. I think for kind of your own longevity of playing the game, you should go with Enigma first, and then get going on that Infinity a little bit later when you get a chance. Now, not quite as frequently as the other questions, but I do probably about once a week get asked, hey, what type of PC build do you have? Now, I did build this myself, and the thing is I originally put this together with an APU, so a GPU, CPU combined. I built it super cheap, super budget early on, and I've been upgrading kind of as the channel grows, or as I kind of have the cash on hand and the ability to do it. So starting off the motherboard, I have an ROG Strix B450 motherboard. For the CPU, I have a Ryzen 7 3700X. I would like to upgrade that. I kind of need/want to, whatever you want to call it, upgrade that now, but I just can't choke down the money right now to afford a better CPU. Now, for the graphics card, I absolutely had to upgrade this for when D4 came out, and even for streaming Diablo 2 Resurrected, my old GPU was struggling. So I ended up upgrading to a pretty expensive upgrade. I have a 4070 Ti. Now, I used to have an AMD graphics card, and in my experience, it's absolute dog crap for streaming. It really just looks absolutely terrible. So I kind of needed to get that NVENC encoder on the NVIDIA graphics card as well. So I ended up just paying up and getting this 4070 Ti. Now we talk about the memory, we're talking about the RAM. I actually have 32 gigs of RAM in this system, which really, I kind of mostly just need that for the video editing side. It obviously is going to help out with the streaming and the gameplay and stuff too, but mainly that's why I need at least that 32 gigs. Now for storage, back when I first started, NVMEs were pretty expensive. And like I said, I wanted to build it on the cheap. So I actually got a 256 NVMe that's got like my Windows on it and just a couple of other things, pretty much just Windows essentially. And then for storage, I have a 1 terabyte NVMe, and I also have a 1 terabyte hard drive that I bought a very long time ago, back before I really wanted to spend very much money on the system. I really drastically now for storage need to actually go invest in literally like a multi-terabyte hard drive, since now you can get like an 8 terabyte hard drive for like $150. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything you need to know about the system. So hopefully you thought the video was interesting. Hit the comments with any other type of questions you think get asked all the time on stream and you would like to hear me answer. Don't forget to subscribe up and hit the like button if you haven't done so already, because actually like 60 or 70% of people who watch my videos actually aren't subscribed to the channel. Peace out, fellas, and don't forget, keep slaying.